You're watching Daybreak, reaching you live from the nation's capital in Abuja. Now, we will be taking the next discussion on the program. The president assented to the bill that's the electoral amendment bill at past midday on Friday at a brief ceremony held at the council chamber of the Aso Villa in Abuja. Now, this comes barely a week to the expiration of the window. The president has to take a decision on the proposed legislation as required by the Nigerian Constitution. Now, having received the bill from the National Assembly on January 31st, various stakeholders, including political actors and civil society groups, had awaited its signing into law by the Nigerian leader. We'll be taking perspectives on this, and we have former local council chairman of Lamurde local government area of Adamawa State, Honorable Vrati Nzonzo, and he will be giving us perspectives on this. Now, let's welcome to Daybreak.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Morning.
Yes. Let's get your own reaction on the recently signed electoral amendment bill.
First of all, let me congratulate you, the Daily Trust family, for doing a wonderful job. I'm impressed with all your efforts, especially this new sector, the electronic media. You're doing us proud. Having said that, let me also hit the nail on the head. Talking about the Electoral Act amendment bill that was assented to by Mr. President, as a matter of personal opinion, and I believe most Nigerians will agree with me, if not now, certainly in the near future, that this will go down history as the, I would say, the best reform that will come out of this 8 years administration of Mr. President, because it will go a long way in solving so many problems from not just in the administration of the whole electoral process, but even in bringing credible leadership, because the system has been made better, so there will be less room for cutting corners. So that will bring about better leaders emerging through free, fair, and credible election. And it has also solved the problem of crisis emanating from elections, violence associated with it. Naturally, as a young Nigerian, I will want to see a situation where our electoral process is peaceful, so that our youths will not be wasting their lives trying to defend what is not even right in the first place. So this electoral bill has solved a lot of problems, and it has also given Mr. President a facelift before the common man. Most Nigerians are happy that finally he has assented to this bill. You know, initially when he did not, a couple of months back, I think about 2 months back, Nigerians were not just happy about it, including yours sincerely, because we all know how important it is. But true to his word, he actually said if they cross their T's and dot their I's, he will assent to it, which he did. So it's a good thing, and we're happy that it will take us to the next level.
He did, but some will say grudgingly, maybe. You know, with some reservations, because we saw how much the president dragged his feet, you know, over this electoral act. This is the 4th time that the bill is sent to him under his administration. And eventually he passed it, yes, but again with some complaints about political appointees, you know, having, you know, being disenfranchised and all of that, even though some people said, well, it's fair to demand that political appointees step aside when they have interest in political office to avoid conflicts of interest.
Yeah, well, the issue of him dragging his feet, it doesn't really matter whether he drags his feet or he doesn't. The bottom line is he has assented to the bill, and that's the most important thing. It is now law. Naturally, he should drag his feet a bit, because election issues are very sensitive, especially considering the antecedents of flawed elections in Nigeria and the violence associated with it, and so many bad things that is attached to it. So they said, according to the spokesperson of the president, I think it was additional that issued the statement that they want a nearly perfect document. They know that they cannot really have a perfect document, a perfect law, but nearly perfect. So that's doing their best to smoothing all rough edges, and that's why they had to take all that time, do the back and forth
Are you
thing.
sure it's not because of the pressure that was mounted,
If
on the
it's
president
because of
from
the
every
pressure,
angle?
if it's even because of the pressure, that's kudos to Nigerians for standing for what is right. So the bottom line is the president has assented. He gave his word the last time that if this issue of direct primaries, that one will gag political parties, and if you take it out of the equation and you make it flexible, giving political parties options, he will assent to it. And then he did. So grudgingly or not, the bottom line is he assented to it, and we're happy. And talking about the other issue, sorry, you made mention of what was the other thing you talked about?
Is it the political appointees?
The issue of the political appointees, thank you. As a matter of personal opinion, I also believe that the way we play politics in Nigeria, it is only fair that you give people a level playing ground. Allowing some people occupying government office, coming with the paraphernalia of their office, psychologically, you've already bullied the opponent. Morally, it's totally wrong because you're coming you're using his tail to tie his neck because you're coming with resources that he personally has contributed to or is entitled to. Is our commonwealth. Talking about the resources of the office you're occupying or the privileges of the office you're occupying. You're not coming to bully your opponent with it. So let us all operate on a level playing ground, the same pedestal. You stand on a flat ground, I stand on a flat ground, then we contest. So, and you see, some people now, because it favors you, because you're in office, you think, no, this is not right, it shouldn't be done like this, it shouldn't be done. That's the problem with Nigerians. You will not last forever in that office. You will leave someday. And when you leave, that which you don't see anything wrong in it because it favors you, it serves your interest, tomorrow you will be the one to take the brunt. So it's a good thing.
Okay, now following the, signing the electoral bill into law, now becoming an act, the INEC released its timetable, for 2023 elections. And now we are seeing that there is a likelihood that the APC convention March dates that have been fixed might be postponed. Could you comment on that?
I don't think APC will postpone the national convention again. 26th of March is the date. And I don't think there will be any reason to postpone it again. Even for the fact that we need to do away with the issue of the convention and face elections. Because there are people now that ordinarily are contesting for the positions in the national executive of the party. And ordinarily, maybe if the convention is over and done with, those that are not successful may aspire for other positions at the primaries of the party. But now, when you fail to do this convention, now certain people will be caught up between the devil and the deep blue sea. They are not sure whether they should wait for the convention or they should run for an office. If you look at the timeline from INEC, you will see that all political parties are expected to be done with their nomination by 2nd June. So you can see that's barely 3 months from now. In fact, it's less than, because you will not wait for 2nd June before you do the nomination. Most nominations will likely be
which is why it's like
in May.
Like
so you can see that this convention, for the good of APC, for us to have a clear head and a good perspective of what lay ahead of us, this convention needs to be done and get over with at most by that 26th of March.
Do you see this, putting the APC on some kind of pressure, on some kind of pressure to, bring forward and take all the decisions, the consensus that they're talking about before that June 3rd? I mean, we're already seeing, like the lead story suggests on Daily Trust this morning, about anxiety, among, aspirants, presidential hopefuls to, get their tickets, before that time. So, I mean, how is this going to affect the preparation of the APC?
Well, honestly, let me first of all say anything that is made law in the APC as my party, I will abide by it. But I am also entitled to my opinion as a person, as a Nigerian, and as a free man. As a matter of personal opinion, I don't like the idea of consensus. Consensus in itself is a problem. In my own opinion, it's more of a problem than a solution, because it's all about favoring a particular bloc or individuals with might. The essence of democracy is towing the line of the majority. So what is wrong in election? We have ESCOs, we have delegates. Let's just maintain the status quo. Go and vote who you want. Let the person with the highest vote emerge. But this consensus now, talking about putting pressure on the system, this consensus now that we're talking about, by the time now Mr. President or the powers that be choose to come together and endorse me over you, where is the fairness to you? And it's possible you are the popular choice of the party members. So that's why I always say...
Which we have already seen, actually. We've seen that presidential endorsement on Abdullahi Adamu, former governor, as the chairman of the APC.
I think
we've seen that.
I think it's a rumor for now.
It's been reported.
Is it official?
Well, it's been reported.
That makes it a rumor.
It's been reported that the president has endorsed.
So wait and see.
Former governor.
We'll wait and see. Now, you see, if Abdullahi Adamu is now endorsed, how fair is that to Al Makura? How fair is that to my own Sonny Moni Dafe from Adama? How fair is it to all other aspirants? You understand? But one thing I like is there's a caveat from the National Assembly that when consensus happens to be the case, all aspirants involved will assent to it. Is that really going to happen? Do you really see Nigerians the way we are agreeing to be that sportsman-like? I don't see it happening. It's very rare. But probably in this case, since the highest authority in the land is involved, probably some people can be pacified. Okay, let this go. You will be taken care of in this manner, or your supporters will be taken care of in that manner, because most political leaders are concerned about the feeling of their supporters. So as far as this issue is concerned, I quite agree with you that this issue of consensus, the boardroom politics, is putting much pressure on the party. And it is also making, I believe this is one of the reasons why this convention keeps, they keep postponing this convention. The date keeps changing. And that also confirms what I said earlier. We must learn as a people to do things the honorable way. Okay. It may be right, but it may not be moral.
Okay, just briefly before we connect with Yabagi virtually, to what extent do you think that these zonal congresses of the APC will help in addressing some of the grievances that is likely to affect the convention?
It will affect it in, certainly it will affect it in one way. It will help douse the tension at the center, because some people now will be pacified to accept positions at the zone. Let go the national. Let's do this thing at our zone on 12 March. You take so position, she takes that position, so that when we get to Abuja at the national stage, there will be less pressure. And then that will be the final clash of the titans.
All right. Now, let's get other perspectives on this. The Electoral Amendment Act, as assented to by the President, from Chairman of IPAC, Engineer Yabagi Yusuf Sani, who is joining us virtually. Thank you for joining us on Daybreak this morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
All right. Well, today, in your last appearance on the show, we were talking about whether or not the president is going to assent to the Electoral Amendment Bill. He has eventually done that. And we are seeing reactions following that. What is your own reaction now that we've seen assent to the bill?
Well, first of all, I'd like to congratulate Mr. President for having this very, very unique historic occasion to write his name in gold in the annals of the history of the political development in this country. And to quickly also add our recommendation to INEC, who has been very consistent and steadfast on the issues of how to utilize, the electoral process in this country. I want to commend their effort. Uh, we in IPAC, we are elated by the fact that we now have a process that has some kind of recourse, a process that has reduced the unnecessary wastage of money, the process that has reduced violence, uh, especially at the polling units. And Nigerians also, we congratulate Nigerians because, of course, Nigeria is looked up as a leader on the continent of Africa. In fact, as a leader of the black race, because of five, black, one is a Nigerian. To that extent, what Mr. President did is really giving this country the kind of profile that we deserve, as a leading nation on the continent of Africa, and if you like, in the community of nations all over, globally. So we're happy. We expect that we politicians will play by the rules, because if we do not play by the rules, then all this will come to naught, because it's not having a good piece of legislation that matters. It's how it is implemented that matters. And in this particular case, if you observe the electoral bill 2022 has done, is to ensure that you have a process that, as you cast your vote, the result is transmitted, automatically, electronically, to the collation center. So this has introduced a new dimension, and has also introduced the urgent need for Mr. President to perhaps address the security agencies, because if the security agencies do not do what they are supposed to do as far as their role spelled out in the law, I'm talking about ensuring that money is not used in an obscene manner, as we observe. The election that took place, that I'm talking about the by-election that took place in a number of places, money was used in a way that, you would think you are in a market where you just pay and then you are given the commodity. So it has been commercialized. So we need to address this issue, because even the so-called developed democracies do not joke with the issue of, money in elections, because if you use money to buy people's questions, you have criminalized them. You have made a nonsense of that process itself, because the process intends to ensure that people are able to use their judgment without being influenced in the manner that we do in this country. So I'm calling on Mr. President to go a step further, so that we will have the benefits of this, electoral bill, which, I mean, the act that he has put in place now, and so that it will have the effect that it's supposed to have, which is to have free, fair, and peaceful elections in this country.
Okay, now talking about playing by the rules, by reason of signing this electoral amendment act, we are seeing some alterations here and there. For instance, requesting that political parties conclude on the nomination of their candidate by June 3rd. And this seemed to cause a lot of stir, in the political sphere. Do you think that this will put negative pressure on political parties?
Well, it is not as if we are starting, or the political parties are participating in the election process for the first time. This is something we've been doing for years now, and this electoral, act itself has been in the workings for so many years now. So, I think, yes, you might say that it puts the political parties on their toe, but that does not mean that we cannot meet up with the time frame that INEC has introduced, because the process, like I said, has been digitalized. It's unlike before that you have to go manual. You have to submit the candidate's name, their forms and things like that manually. Now you can just sit in the comfort of your offices and send to INEC, the nominations, the forms, and other documents required, for INEC to now put your candidate on the ballot. So I think 3 months, 150 days that has been given, I think it's okay, in the sense that we as political parties, we have the machinery, we have the wherewithal in terms of how to bring yourselves together, have your primaries either by consensus or by direct primaries or by indirect primaries. So there are options available to political parties. Unlike before, that it was just one option, which is to say direct primaries. But now we have three options. So the pressure can be really eased off if you adopt, for instance, consensus, if that suits your political party. So yes, it will put us on our toes, but we're up to the task because this is something we've been doing for a number of years. So it's not something that we cannot do. And all you are talking about is how to bring the people together and then for them to nominate a candidate. And once they do that, then you submit to INEC. What has been the problem before is the issue of submission of these names to INEC, manually. That is a huge challenge, So, but now with this process, which is electronically done, you go to the portal and same thing. I think it can be done within the time frame given because of the introduction of this automation system, which is digitalization of the process.
Okay, now before I come back to our guest in the studio, quickly on the issue of the reservations the president raised concerning political appointees having to, step aside when they are vying for political offices. The president, is looking forward to a revisit to that electoral act by the National Assembly so that, quote and unquote, according to him, some will not be disenfranchised and all of that. Do you buy in that thought and idea?
Yeah, we support Mr. President 100%. And the reasons are that aspect of the act is against the Constitution, in the sense, the provision of the Constitution, which says that everybody has an inalienable rights to contest or be voted for, or vote, cast, his or her vote in an election. What I think the National Assembly did not, did not get right.
Okay. Well, we will reconnect, back to our virtual guest there. But, well, obviously, we are hearing, a contrary view from yours, which you emphasize the need for us to have this, level playing ground for all political, politicians, rather, in, contesting for elections and all of that. But again, we didn't hear his own reason as to why he think is the best decision. Basically, though, he is pointing to the issue of rights, of the aspirant.
Obviously, you can see we belong to different generations, so we will largely not think alike. I am of the APC, but that doesn't mean anything that comes from my party, I should just okay it. As I've always said, I'm first of all a Nigerian before I became a member of the APC. So I will always look at what will benefit the generality of Nigeria, especially at the long run. If the Constitution does not, if the Constitution favors that arrangement, I will appreciate people saying, amend the Constitution to take away that right or that privilege they enjoy so that it will be level. But the language that some of the supporters of this idea, what they are now saying is the Electoral Act should be amended, re-amended to maintain the status quo. You understand where the issue is? So they are now saying we should continue with that idea of people in office, remaining in office while contesting elections.
Okay.
But they are hinging their argument on the provision of the Constitution. So why not just say the Constitution should be amended to suit the Electoral Act so that they don't enjoy that privilege? Why will we are all in the same party? Even in the party, you are going to bully your own colleagues, your fellow members of the same party that will come and work for you when you become the candidate. You bully them on your way to get the nomination. Then in the general election too.
Let's hear the reasons of Engineer Yabagi, who think that this is in the right direction. If you are there, you may continue with your thought.
Yes, you see, my colleague there, is saying that we should amend the Constitution. Yes, of course. At the end of the day, that's what will happen. But we all know the tortuous process, of amending the Constitution in this country. It doesn't stop with National Assembly. It has to go to the states before it becomes law, before the Constitution can be amended. So, and that's a very long process. It may not catch up with what we want to do, in terms of how people are now. We have very, few days, very tight schedule if you look at it, for us to nominate candidates and then submit to the INEC and things like that. So there's no way you can do it such that the amendment of the Constitution would be able to meet the requirement of the INEC timetable so that you have these political appointees, stopped from participating. But again, in the Constitution, it says that 30 days before the elections, So, but what the they wanted to do was to bring it.
How do we reconcile these two things? On one hand, we have a right, of a person to vote and to be voted for. On the other hand, we have a concern about, creating that enabling ground, that level playing ground for all Nigerians to be able to operate and not feel, not to be put in a disadvantaged position. We have a political appointee here now who may have, certain privileges, that may, impact on elections. So we need to reconcile this too, isn't it?
You are right, but Rome was not built in a day. We're already making a lot of progress as, the fact that we have started, on this electoral bill. We have achieved a lot if you look at what the bill says, but that it's not yet Uhuru. We are not there yet. There are so many other issues that the electoral bill needs to address, which you can't do it in just one fell swoop. So I'm not saying we have a perfect law yet, but we have something that at least we can start with and begin to now, improve on it so that, we get something that is near perfection, at the end of the day. It's not yet perfect at all because, for instance, I was calling your attention to the area of the use of money. The security agencies that are supposed to ensure that money.
Again, that's also part of the problem, because if you talk about money, mostly it is when someone is in power that usually they have access to that money. So it becomes very easy to monetize the whole process. So, and in this case that we are talking about, the president is the one asking the lawmakers to go back on that decision, on the, which I mean, it's by some people it's right, and it's fair to request that these political appointees, set aside and all of that. So again, there is really no need for us to start talking about constitutional amendment, isn't it? Since it's already been spelled out.
Yes, I'm saying that the constitutional amendment is already on, and but the process, I don't think it will meet the requirement of this exercise that we want to embark upon. That is 2023 elections. It goes through so many processes, and if you also know that the people we are talking about are influential people, they can filibuster this, they can frustrate the amendment to the constitution. They have the wherewithal, so because of that, it's better that we go with what we believe will at least sanitize, the process, and then give us a very good ground to ensure that we have a free, fair, and credible election. I think what we have done with this bill is a big achievement for this country. It has opened up, the opportunities for us to go further in ensuring that our election process meets the international, I mean the global best practices. And that's what, and then even United States, other countries, they are still trying to perfect the process. They haven't got it right yet. So where we are not happy, we are not satisfied, but it's good enough to start to go on. Not like before. You know. Yes.
The view of our guest in the studio briefly before we go on a short break. Well, you've heard him. Is there really even any need for us to even start talking about constitutional amendment in respect to this when clearly INEC has the powers to even take some of those decisions?
Well, I will say clearly that I actually agree with the chairman of IPAC, Engineer Abagi, that there's no time to really amend the constitution in respect of participation of political appointees. There's no time to amend the constitution to remedy that issue before election. It's not going to work. And you actually heard what he said. I also agree with him. These are very influential people. They can filibuster the process. They can, frustrate it in so many ways. And you see that also lend credence to the argument that they should not be enjoying these privileges. But one thing is clear.
Which means he has agreed, with the fact that it is right for them to step aside, when they have...
Well, not in his own words, but I know he knows it. And his comments has also confirmed what we're afraid of. Somebody having undue advantage over others. He is the one talking about money. These are people in office. They will be coming with the monies of the position they hold, the support of the people that associate with the office, whether the business community or whatever, the security. As a minister, is entitled to security, a whole lot. You cannot expect him to work without it, especially in the insecurity we are era of today. So all these things will now put pressure on the opponents and give undue advantage to the people holding this office. So not in clear terms, but he accepts that advantage is there, especially talking about the use of money that he has hampered upon, which is very important. That's one area that we need to take out of our political equation, because that's why it's very difficult for youth in Nigeria to gain victory at the polls, because you barely left school, you are yet to keep your head above water, and you're running for an office with somebody who have been working for 20 years or holding public office for 12 years and stuff like that. It's a very difficult thing. But all things being equal, the not too young to run bill is a good thing, and we're going somewhere, just like engineer said, Rome was not built in a day. But I also concede to his position that there's not enough time to amend this constitution and take away that privilege enjoyed by public office holders. So it is now the prerogative of those concerned at the National Assembly to know what they can do to, I think, suspend a portion of it or whatever. I'm not a lawyer. They're the ones with the onus lie on them. They know what to do so that we can have a litigation-free process. And I think, like he rightly mentioned, a lot has already been achieved by this electoral act that was signed on Friday. As it is, as I said earlier, it is, to me, it is the biggest legacy that will be left behind by the Buhari administration so far. Okay. So far.
Now, we have in the studio a member of the APC and former local council chairman of Lamurde local government area of Adamawa State, Honorable Vrati Nzozo, talking to us. And then we also have virtually the national chairman of IPAC, Engineer Iyabagi Yusuf Sani, with us on the program. Well, just like we've been saying before the break, now, if I may hear from you, Engineer, we are hearing two things on your side. On one hand, you said, well, you agree with the president on the fact that the lawmakers need to revisit the issue of, political appointees because of that requirement that seemed to disenfranchise them. And then again, at the same time, you are also agreeing with the fact that there is needs to have that level playing ground, for all politicians, vying for electoral offices. So maybe if you could just, you know, talk about the gray areas for us there, to further clarify your point exactly.
Yeah, okay. You see, that provision that is, I think, Section 84, subsection 12, which excludes political appointees, is unconstitutional. And Mr. President swore, has sworn to protect, and defend the constitution of this country. So he cannot be seen to be violating the constitution if he allows it to go without asking for, that section to be expunged. But again, like we have identified, it's needed, to ensure that you have a level playing field for all players in the political space, as far as elections are concerned, without giving people a due advantage, over others. The another thing that you might want to also look at is the fact that in this country, a sitting president, a sitting governor, a sitting senator, contest elections without resigning. So, and when you look at the position of Mr. President in an election, who do you think, has the kind of uh, almost limitless power, over the process than a president of a country? So again, when you look at these political appointees you are talking about, and the elected officials, you see that perhaps we have not been truthful, with ourselves, because here you have these elected officials I've just mentioned. They are not asked to resign. So I don't know how you will now justify that if you remove the political appointees, that will create a level playing field.
You,
But
you,
then
you know, so,
it's a process, like I said, we have started. Perhaps we may get to a stage where we say, well, if you're occupying an office, an elected governor or president or chairman or council or whatever, and you want to go further for second term, then you should be required to perhaps step aside, so
okay, so
that
in
there
this
will be
sense, you
level
are saying
playing field
that
for everybody.
at the end of the day, we have still not been able to create that level playing ground for all aspirants, in the sense that on the one hand, you have political appointees. On the other hand, you have people who are elected officials. They, as far as the amendment is concerned, have not been affected by this. And so you are saying that it's still not, reconciled. It's still not balanced. Is that correct?
No, that's exactly what I'm saying. And so here you are. It's like a catch 22. If you say, okay, this man is elected for a term, and we hold our elections during his term, unless you amend the constitution to say, well, yes, elections are conducted within your term as spelled out in the constitution, but if you want to go, further, that is a second term, then you should step aside. If I'm just making an argument that if you think you must also stop political appointees from participating, then what about the man that appointed them, who has more powers really than all these people you are talking about?
Arguing that this issue has been raised because some of the close allies of the president, for instance, the Attorney General of the Federation, who is said to be interested in vying for a political office in the coming election. And so he is likely to be at a disadvantage as a result of this, and which is why this whole thing is coming up. I mean, he's not the only person, but his name comes up, very, 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 very dominant in this discussion when people are talking about these political appointees and the likes. How would you respond to that?
No, you don't personalize lawmaking. You are making a law for the country, not for uh, a person, a one person like Attorney General Federation, and whether it will favor him or not favor him. I'm sure those who are, bringing such argument are just trying to be personal, and I don't think it will help us or help the nation, in the direction we want the nation to go. We should just look at from on the of what is the best for this country. And what is the best for this country is to do whatever it will take for us to create that level playing field for all contestants in an election. And that is not something you can achieve in a day or with just one amendment, to the electoral, law. So we are aware of the running battle between the National Assembly members
Okay.
and
All
the
right.
executive, but to me, that happens everywhere.
Okay,
It's
now
not
let's
peculiar
get
to us.
other thoughts here. I mean, obviously, we haven't struck the balance yet, from what engineer is saying, that when you say political appointees should resign, what happens to elected officials who are also vying for other political offices? How would they resign? Are they to resign to create that level playing ground, for all Nigerians?
You see, I understand the point he's making, and what I will say is, as he said, Rome was not built in a day. The journey of 1,000 miles starts with a step. I want to add that. Political appointees are appointed at the instance of their principal. They don't have the mandate of the people. Those elected have the mandate of the people. And a constitutional term in office, political appointees don't. When you perform abysmally, your principal can fire you. When you flaw along the line, you can resign or you get fired. In the case of those elected, it's not that easy. So global practice, world over, most I stand to be corrected, but I think it is part of the global best practices in this matter that those elected are allowed to exhaust their terms, their term of office. So they will not resign because they are seeking re-election.
But that places them, it gives them an undue advantage again.
Yes,
Over others.
It gives them advantage, but not like those appointed, because in the first place, those elected are already there, and we all know they will spend 4 years.
How do you? How do you measure the kind of advantage that they stand to get?
I'm coming. When you look at the number of appointees compared to the number of those elected, you cannot compare. One elected person can even have, in one state, you can even have like 2,000 appointees. So imagine them coming together to push a particular agenda.
Okay, now you are from Adamawa State,
Yes.
right? Are you saying this, because you are in the opposition in your state? The PDP is the ruling party in Adamawa State, and you are of the APC. So maybe you are towing this path because it seemed to favor you, isn't it? It seemed to say, okay, all commissioners, of the governor should resign when they are contested for elections.
Not at all. You see, I have always taken a particular position as a matter of principle, as a matter of conscience, that I'm first of all a Nigerian before I became a member of any political party. So I always try to caution myself not to allow my personal political interest truncate what will be for the good of my tomorrow's Nigeria. So the issue of because I'm in the opposition in Adamawa, it doesn't arise. Political appointees, let me even tell you this. A lot of political appointees don't even have political clout to make a difference in their communities. So it's not.
Are you sure about that? Because the governor in your state seemed to have a lot of goodwill, in Adamawa State. And so, what are the chances of your party even in the coming elections?
The funny thing about the Nigerian politics is we have more of praise singers than more of people who not critics but objective analysts. We have more of praise singers because they want food on their table. They will tell you, when you are seeing something is obviously black, he will tell you, this is Snow White. Now, every sitting governor in Nigeria, every sitting governor, I repeat, enjoy all this praise singing and whatever, but that doesn't mean they are performing in tandem with all those things that people are saying. I may be in the opposition in Adama, and I've always said it, and I will say it again. Do your due diligence. And I believe you know that. You're a sharp guy. You know that fully well. Adama, APC lost Adama because APC fought APC. That was why we lost Adama. APC did not lose Adama because of the popularity of the incumbent.
Isn't that the case till now? Has those issues been resolved?
There will always be cases. Politics, there will always be conflict. We all know that. But we hope that the leadership of the party, the May Mala leadership, have constituted a committee of which Abdullahi Adamu, Senator, former governor of Nasarawa, is the committee chairman for reconciliation. They've done their best. And don't forget, we locally in Adamawa will also have to sit and mend fences, because that's the only way we can get what we're looking for. So it's a must that we bridge the gaps between major players. It's a must that we reconcile. And I assure you we are working on it. And in fact, time is a natural healer. So the grievances of certain powerful players in Adamawa politics in 2019, without even any form of reconciliation, by now, naturally, some of them are even
Don't be
pacified.
so assumptuous. Don't be so assumptuous.
I am from Adamawa. I am part of the APC in Adamawa. I'm a stakeholder in the party, and I know exactly what I'm telling. I can mention names, but I would not.
Okay.
Of people that naturally are pacified. After all, they've done the damage they would do in 2019. So that alone is suiting to them.
Okay, well, thank you so much. We have to end this here on the program today. Thank you, Engineer Yabagi Yusuf, for joining us on Daybreak today. Because of our time, I wanted to give you just a minute maybe to give us your concluding thoughts, but I don't know if that's if you can do that.
Having congratulated Mr. President and the INEC, I think one area that is more fundamental, more injurious to our political process is this issue of state INEC, because local government, the tier, is the most important tier, is the one that is nearest to the people. And if you see the kind of organized crime that takes place in the name of conducting elections at local government level, believe you me, it sort of affects the psyche of the average Nigerian, because they think that it is about money, that it's about somebody peddling influence. Because at that level, nobody wins. It's just a kind of show, and then they will just come out and then appoint people. So the National Assembly should, and Mr. President should see if something can be done at that level. Number two, this cross-carpeting.
All right, thank you. We will continue to engage, and we will continue to have that discussions to do our best to bring the issues to the fore on the program. Thank you for joining us. Because of our short time, we have to end it. And thank you also for joining us on the program today. It's been quite interesting.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. In case you've missed, you can always catch up on our YouTube and also connect with us via our social media platforms. I am Ayuba Ilia. Well, thank you for joining us again tomorrow.